forming in the morning hours, a different type of congregation at Tucson's historic Benedictine monastery, building a project that took years to break ground. In late 2017, the nuns who called this monastery home for over half a century sold it to developer Ross Rolney. In the following months, initial plans that called for 7-story apartments on the surrounding property were met with resistance from the neighborhood.
Because all those little blocks and squares and rectangles just don't seem to look like Tucson.
But after months of alterations and rezoning, work began in early March on 2 5-story buildings that will house 255 units and parking. Do you feel a sigh of relief right now that you see people at work and building what you had dreamed of?
I'll probably feel that sign of relief at the ribbon cutting ceremony, but right now it's just just excitement. It's fun walking around this project and seeing everybody at work.
Plans for the monastery and chapel itself are not set in stone, but they will incorporate a mix of office space and room for retailers or restaurants. Helping to oversee the final design is architect Corky Poster. I know there was a lot of concern from the neighborhood about what would ultimately be here. Are you satisfied that once they see the finished product, they're going to be happy with this?
I am supremely proud of the quality of this project and what we've done to save an important landmark in this city. There was no other way to save it other than to make the land produce the value that it had.
Construction is not expected to wrap up until October of next year. In the short term, the effects of the pandemic are limited, aside from additional safety protocols for crews on site.
Our view of the world has to be a long-term view. Everything we do, is 50 to 75 years of life. And so we need to think in terms of that. And we're pretty sure that the problems we're dealing with today may not be around in 2 or 4 or 5 or 20 or 50 years.
Do you think the demand will be there at the end of the road, at the end of this tunnel, if you will?
It's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I'm betting on it. I think there will be, but there are also some things in our favor. Interest rates are at an all-time low, and that is something that I certainly have to my advantage.
Those incentives encourage Rolney to go ahead with construction at another site in downtown Tucson where he plans to build apartments. As building ramps up at the monastery, Rolney says he anticipates the crew on site will grow in the coming months from 60 to 70 people to about 100.
I'm in it, and we'll see how this all plays out over the next couple of years, I guess.
A few miles from the monastery, another longtime institution is also expanding. When Pima Community College went online amid concerns about the coronavirus, work was already underway on its long-planned automotive center.
And the nice thing is when the state went into its stay-at-home orders, it did not include construction as part of that stay-at-home order, so we were able to continue to advance many of our construction projects.
With construction expected to finish by the end of the year, Chancellor Lee Lambert says he anticipates the bulk of learning will remain online until then, and perhaps even longer. And what do you see happening with courses, for example, like welding, where you have to have those students hands-on?
So when you take those performance-based types of programs, there's some aspects of them that can be done on an online context, so that will still happen. And then at some point the students have to come in and actually do a weld or touch an airplane or touch a car, touch a patient. So we're going to bring a balance to that, and it'll be more like setting it up into a hybrid type of modality.
Is it, for lack of a better word, upsetting to you to see all this potential basically being put on hold? I know we're going to have online classes, but the fact that you can have traditional structure for a community college of this size.
I look at the current set of circumstances as an opportunity. I mean, yes, it's upsetting at one level because it's a major disruption to each and every one of our lives, our lifestyles, and the approaches that we're doing things. But at the same time, it represents an opportunity to move into the future that was already coming. It was coming quickly, but it was harder to sense that future. But now what we've realized, you look at what we've accomplished, we've been able to move everything that we do into a virtual environment. And we did that in less than 2 weeks. If you would have asked people before that, they would have said, no way could you have done that. Well, we did it.
Unlike PCC nearby, the University of Arizona plans to resume in-person classes this fall. It coincides with the grand opening of the Graduate Tucson Hotel in Main Gate Square. The boutique hotel company has 22 locations in college communities, with another 12 that it plans to open by the end of the year, including Tucson's hotel.
It's about telling the story of the local community. It's about telling the story of the university partners that we have across the country. Every design starts from scratch.
Company president David Rochefort says months of research goes into customizing each hotel to reflect the community, and Tucson landed on its radar when the Graduate launched 6 years ago.
I would imagine when Tucson opens in September, the world's going to be even different than it is today. And as a brand, we'll react and continue to evolve with the standards and expectations of truly the best medical experts in the industry.
For Graduate hotels, that includes teaming up with the Cleveland Clinic for guidance on best practices in an industry hit hard by the pandemic. In Arizona alone, economists at the U of A say leisure and hospitality jobs are down by 126,000 since last year.
And it's been truly catastrophic for our industry, and no one plans to have demand essentially go to zero as we've seen over the last several months.
Rochefort says as early as December, the company recognized the virus's impacts when furniture manufacturers in China slowed down. Back then, it led the company to develop contingency plans. But today, he's hopeful current trends suggest the economy is rebounding.
They're back to levels where we feel like we can certainly break even and make a profit, which I think is important. At that point, for us, it's vital to be reopen our doors, figure out how to operate in the new normal.